I wanted to use this video as an opportunity to show you how useful Gianfranco Conti's EPI methodology is for priming students towards or for a difficult listening task. In this instance, I'm using a GCSE style question with a Year 9 group. Now, the content of this question is really demanding, and it would be inaccessible for the vast majority of students. However, I do want them to see the question, as I want to begin, as we're now at the end of Year 9, to get used to seeing GCSE style questions. So this is where Gianfranco Conti's EPI comes in. It is a really, really sound and effective way of priming students moving towards a difficult task. Now, this is absolutely not me saying that this is how it should be done. This is me putting using my own interpretation with it, and using this for my students based on what we are used to. What I'm used to with my students, what my students are used to seeing from me, will not be appropriate for every other teacher. So it's really important to say that now, and just to note that I think if you read any of Gianfranco's books, attend his seminars, or go on his website, you'll see stacks and stacks of stuff that I think is really worthwhile going through and experimenting with your pupils with that. So this is the question that's on the screen now. So past, now, future on the top of exchanges, and this is all they would see. So they'll hear the audio and that's all they'll see. So there's no support on there. There's an awful lot of cognitive demand on there on the students. It's completely inaccessible as it is. So we need to build up to it. So I know what the text is. And crucially, which I've heard Gianfranco saying as well, at this level, I record myself speaking very slowly. So I'm reading the text. I know what the text is. I've written the text myself. I've recorded it myself. And the students, A, are used to hearing my voice, but B, they're also used to hearing how I speak as well, which is really important. So this is based off the text that I wrote. These are just some phrases in there that I know we've seen. So to get them warmed up, so the students won't even be aware at this point, so I wouldn't have shown them the previous slide. So this is where we'd start off. So I'd say we're going to do a listening. Before we do that, though, I want to go through a couple of bits and bobs. First of which is there's 10 phrases on the board here, on the screen in this instance, but this will be on the board for the students. I would just say, I'm going to translate them. If my translation is correct, give it a tick. If it's incorrect, give it a cross. That's all you need to do. So, for example, number 3. The best thing about the trip was. So this, I might translate it correctly, or if I translated it incorrectly, I might say lo mejor del viaje es. Well, that's the best thing about the trip is. We want the best thing about the trip was. Then I get them to talk through what did I do wrong, which ones were wrong there, why was it wrong. So I'm getting them thinking about it there. Now, in this one, this is the text here, but there are 7 verbs on the screen that are left in the infinitive that I conjugate. So I would play the audio alongside this. So they're hearing the audio, and I think that's really important as well. I want them to hear that audio lots and lots of times before we actually do the activity we're building towards. So they're going to hear I know in the exam they only hear it twice. They're in Year 9. They need to hear it far more than 2 times. So I would play the audio there, and all I would want them to do is to conjugate those verbs in red. So I'm going to say to them, look, I've left those verbs, I've left those infinitives as they are. They're in the infinitive form. They're not in the infinitive form in the audio. I just want you to write down what I conjugate them to. And then we go through that. Then we talk through the tenses and the different verb paradigms, and yeah, we take that from there. So again, now they've seen the text, they won't be aware that this is the text that they're going to be dealing with. And even if they were, it doesn't matter. There's too much on here for them to remember. Moving towards it, there's far too much on here for them to remember. So we would go through that. Then another one that my students really enjoy is again seeing a text like this. I would read it out. I've put in, or again, I would play the audio again, or in this instance, I'd read it out, and I'd just miss out 6 of the words on there. I put them in red, the words that I would miss out, because maybe they're the ones that I feel that the students need to be aware of for the purpose of the final activity. Then we go through, but what I really don't want to do is go through it in detail, every single part of the passage, because that kind of defeats the purpose of it. I just want them primed. They're looking at it. They've had a chance to go through it the different aspects of it. Then we go into it there, and then we talk through before we do it. Now I'd say to them, now we've gone through the text 2-3 times now. We've not dwelled on the specific aspects that I'm going to be testing you on, or testing is the wrong word, that we're going to be working on now for this final activity. So it's really important when you do this now, you talk through the different things you want to be hearing. If it's in the past, what words can they remember from the text? Even though I've just said they can't remember everything, they'll remember, for example, if it's last year or next year or things like that, just so they're really clear on their time phrases. Now, that is a really short example of how I would build up to that. This has brought me a lot of success with students, and I strongly recommend that anybody that's looking to help their students prime themselves working towards really tricky activities, to look at Gianfranco Conti's EPI methodology.